Hi, it's Mark from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here today talking about Volkswagens with Mr. Bernie Pawlik of the 12-time winner of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver, Pawlik Automotive. How are you doing this morning, Bernie?
Doing really well.
Great. So, Volkswagens, been around since
Volkswagens.
before World War II or just prior, I imagine. Been around for a long time. They've sure evolved.
They have. Adolf Hitler originally had the vision of the people's car. Apparently, in Germany at the time, all the cars that were around were very expensive, but in America, you could buy a cheap car. So he had a vision of creating an affordable car that all the citizens could own. So that's kind of where Volkswagen came into being. It's the people's car. And it was a pretty basic car up until the 1970s. They pretty well had the lineup of the Beetle, a couple other offerings, but they were all pretty basic cars. The whole history of Volkswagen, the company, is really interesting, and if you have a chance to read it and look through it, it's kind of interesting reading. Um, Volkswagen sales of air-cooled cars, they were starting to plummet in the 1970s, so they needed to do something new. They introduced the Rabbit, and the rest, as they say, is history. Originally the Volkswagen was a rear-engine, air-cooled, rear-wheel drive car. The Rabbit changed that around, put everything up in the front, water-cooled, which is far better, front-wheel drive with a front engine. Now it's interesting with Beetles. I remember when I was a kid, I mean, there were so many of them around. I remember going on road trips, and you could, count them by the thousands on the road. But honestly, they were kind of pieces of crap. They had a lot of problems. Being air cooled, the heating systems weren't very good, and especially in the climate where we live, where there's a lot of moisture. As the cars aged and they started to get rusty, the heating systems broke down pretty badly. You used to see a lot of Beetles driving around with fogged up insides and people with cloths trying to wipe them down. They really weren't very. They are also not very safe cars, not only in crashes, but not being able to heat the car very well isn't very good. The engines wore out quickly, but fortunately they were cheap to fix. It's been a long time since we've actually worked on an air-cooled Beetle in our shop, but I used to work on tons of them. So that's kind of a bit of history of the Volkswagen.
So, what issues do you find with modern VW cars?
Well, they're fairly well-built cars. I mean, they're so different from the Beetles that it's amazing. But I mean, I'd say they're definitely less reliable than Japanese cars. Still well-built vehicles. And one major issue they've had, starting I think around 1997 up until, and I don't even know if they've fully solved this, but automatic transmissions have been really problematic, very expensive to fix. A lot goes wrong with them, sometimes at a very early mileage as well. So there have been a lot of unhappy VW owners with automatic transmission problems. Other than that, there's some electrical issues, power window failures, check engine lights come on quite frequently, some wheel bearing problems as well. But overall, the engines are pretty solid. Some do require timing belt replacements as well, although like a lot of other manufacturers, they've gone to timing chains. But there are still, timing belts are definitely an issue to deal with on many models.
So, I know a lot of car manufacturers are shifting production to lower wage countries like Mexico. So, and I also know personally that VW has done this. So, how's that affected the quality of the cars?
Well, VW's built cars in Mexico and other third world countries for many years, but I think they've shifted a lot more production to Mexico recently. And while this has made the cars very attractively priced, I mean, you can buy a really nice Golf for not a lot of money. It's a beautiful car, nicely equipped, drives really well. But the fit and finish has definitely dropped off from the German built models, and probably the reliability as well. Speaking of third world production, it's interesting. Like going back 20 or 30 years, back when I used to fix a lot of Volkswagens, I was amazed how cheap the parts were. And this is because a lot of them were made in third world countries. Just as an example, like a brake wheel cylinder for an American car would cost $15 or $20, maybe even a bit more. You could buy one for a Volkswagen for under $5. So they really had the third world production of their car parts down pretty well, and that saved a lot of money on repairs for the people who own Volkswagens.
So, any further thoughts on VWs?
Uh, Overall, good cars. But as I said, you can expect more will go wrong with a Volkswagen than a Japanese car for the most part. They're nicely built, and they have that European feel when you drive them. So if you like that kind of feel, I mean, go for it, buy one, but just expect that you might spend a little more money on repairs and maintenance. I'm not certain if Volkswagen solved their issues with the automatic transmissions, so you might still be safe to buy one with a standard because they seem to be very reliable. One other thing, we haven't talked about Volkswagen vans or the fabulous TDI diesels, and we'll do that in our next hangout. So that's it for Volkswagens today.
Great. Thank you, Bernie. So that's Mr. Bernie Pawlik. He's been working on cars, as you can tell, for an awfully long time, over 20 years. And his shop, Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, has been voted by its customers as the best auto repair shop excuse me, in Vancouver 12 times in a row. So if you want some reliable service for your vehicle from honest mechanics, these are the guys to call, 604-327-7112. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye.